Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday in the Riv.
After a heavy wind and rainstorm,
Yes, and CJ lost power, but you got it back.
I
So
got it back. I
we are
lost
here.
internet for a while too, but got that back.
And the big news is the big case in Rhode Island is solved.
Finally. This time they didn't screw it up.
Well, it's amazing, but they got the guy. He's also the guy who supposedly killed the MIT professor, and but I guess the good thing is that even though the Providence PD and may have made this thing into a political circus and made all kinds of mistakes, they had a homeless guy living in a basement of Brown in a building uh, break the case. It's
The big question now is that homeless guy going to get the $50,000 reward?
I heard they wanted to give it to him, but I mean, if he's homeless, uh, what's that? He might be able to rent an apartment for 1 year or something like that. I don't know why he's homeless. I don't know. Somebody said, I don't know if it's true, but it was a WPRO local radio newscaster that said on one of the national media platforms that this guy had graduated from Brown. He was a Brown graduate, and he was fundamentally a genius. He was at the top of the class at Brown, but that happens a lot. A lot of these people they go, they go crazy like the Unabomber. The Unabomber was a brilliant guy too. Sometimes they get so they become so intelligent they go crazy. They can't deal with it. I don't know. And but at least hopefully there was nobody else involved in it. He had ties, and he was Portuguese, as was
Yeah, they
the
made sure
professor.
they played that. He's a Portuguese national.
Portuguese national who went to college in Lisbon with the MIT professor that he murdered. And that happens, I guess, a lot in that academic. I guess the other guy succeeded and he didn't get his PhD, and I guess when they get and they're always the smartest kid in the class, and they go to college and they get into a place where everybody else is as smart as them, if not smarter, and they can't deal with it. They can't deal with it. Too bad. I mean, but I guess that there's going to be this is going to go on forever, the checking. But I wonder if this is going to dispel one of the theories that the girl who was murdered in Brown, who was the head of the Republican students committee, she was shot because she was a conservative. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think that
there was also the misinformation that the shooter was a trans, and that's why the GOP leader got shot, because it was a trans.
Yeah, right. And
all unfounded, all misinformation.
Of course, and that's why they were telling people stay off the internet with your conspiracy theories, because they're all crazy. And but they said that she was shot, and because that's the first thing they jump to now. It's a trans. It's somebody that's anti this. It's a MAGA. It's a leftist. Let them solve the case. It appears as though he was attacking not the conservative, but the Brown itself. That supposedly was the building that he spent most of his time in when he was at Brown, and he was a PhD candidate who didn't get his PhD. And
he dropped out in 2003.
Withdrew from it. Yeah, well, all this stuff is coming out by the truckload now. They're dumping all kinds of stuff. They're trying to cover the fact that they screwed the investigation up by dumping all kinds of information out now. See, we solved it.
That's it.
No, you didn't. You didn't solve it without the help of a guy that basically
homeless guy.
a homeless guy that's living in a basement. But
Which also speaks volumes about the security on that building.
yeah, but the guy who was talking about him said they are aware that he's living in the building and they're letting him because he's a Brown grad. And so I don't know. And this is the thing. All this stuff is hearsay. The bottom line is supposedly they've solved the murder case. This guy supposedly shot himself. And this was a personal thing. This was not any giant conspiracy. Yeah, we just said that, Stevie. Yeah, he went to college in Lisbon with the MIT professor, and
Stevie, come on, catch up.
he came in late. Stevie was late, but well, yeah. Thanks for after the show. You always do that after we just go off the air, and you gave us the name of the company we were talking about, insider trading, and I said the one that was up at the industrial park. Molten Metal. I forgot the name of it, and as soon as you mentioned it, it clicked again because I don't do the stock market. I'm not because I if I could get the inside information like yeah, well, just the thing, Daniel. It look, the problem is the shoot is dead.
Right. So we don't know what his motive was.
There's nobody there to refute the story. It's like there was an old saying. There's a guy called, I don't know if he's still alive. His name is Masood Ayub. He was a gun carrying expert who wrote all kinds of books on when you carry a firearm, the liabilities and stuff. But one of his books, he said, and it was, I don't know if he was joking. I think he was serious, but people said, well, he must be kind of joking, but he wasn't. He said, if you shoot anybody, he said, make sure you kill them. He said, because when the police get there, there's only going to be one story, yours. And that's what happens here. You're right. Nobody's ever going to know. I mean, we're never going to know the full facts of it because the MIT professor's dead. We know that they both went to college in Lisbon. We know that they were both PhD candidates. And we know a lot of stuff. And yeah, like I said, if he really was the shooter, why did he kill himself? I don't know. They're gonna, they'll say they got, they tracked the car, they did this, they did that, but we'll never know. I mean, and that's the problem. They've got somebody, they got him, and they've got supposedly some evidence, and they're gonna make it. And look, it's not the first one that they made up a lot of crap about. Look at the Kennedy assassination. Go back to the 1960s. They lied about virtually everything about the Kennedy assassination. Everything. One shooter, the pristine bullet, you name it, they lied about it. And it's still not been 100% debunked. But everybody knew they were lying. I mean, anybody with a reasonable amount of training knows that, the guy couldn't have made those shots with a bolt action Hungarian rifle with no scope, and the angle of the bullet, the fact that the pristine bullet, all the other stuff made absolutely no sense. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a realist. I really believe the whole time that the CIA killed him. And I wouldn't doubt it. They were having a lot of problems with Kennedy and Robert also as the Attorney General, and they were going places into the criminal elements and stuff that were very, very well politically connected. And they said, okay, we'll just stick Johnson in there. And but like I said, these things will never, ever be resolved. They're going to be a mystery forever because, they they don't just cover up shit. Fall River covers up stuff, but I mean, when it comes to the federal government, they just totally destroy any evidence or don't even keep any records about anything. When the CIA operates, you don't know anything they do. They cover up everything. They overthrow. God, they're not supposed to operate within the confines of the United States, but we know of circumstances where they have, and that's it. No, I don't know, Steve. They didn't say he had dual citizenship. He's a Portuguese national. I don't know. He's been in this country but they did say that he was here on a visa.
He was on a visa.
So he's not a citizen. If he was here on a visa, I would. Just now, the board suspended a.
That was yesterday. They suspended it.
Yeah.
It was Ice Pub. They suspended it because of a shooting, and they're having a hearing on the 23rd to determine whether or not to keep that suspension in place. So
yeah, and speaking of shootings and bullets, they suspended a student. I gotta look it up now. I was looking at it earlier. Suspended a student in Rhode Island because they found a bullet, a live round, in her locker, and I got another one here. Did you guys hear? I got the Fall River bar. Did you hear about a Fall River man pleading guilty to causing a 17-year-old's overdose?
No.
I just pulled that one up. Fall River man accused of using the Telegram app to sell drugs and ghost guns pleaded guilty this week to a number of federal charges. That's why. Benjamin Hunt was arrested, and so it's somebody who was actually selling ghost guns too. So I guess the feds have charged him with murder, basically, or killing a 17-year-old because he sold them drugs. But I'm sure that the ghost gun charge will be on there too. So that's I haven't even seen that covered on local news yet. So, and now Trump has suspended the green card lottery after the Boston shooting.
You're right, Patrick. Providence has for years been suspending licenses for fights, shootings, stabbings, everything. Fall River does nothing. Fall River does nothing. This is the first time I've heard of it. Hell, there was a shooting outside the package store on Pleasant Street. Did he lose his license to sell? Did he get it suspended? No.
Well, just look at the schools. We have fights. We had videos of fights on the schools.
And the kids don't get prosecuted.
Did they ever charge the students? Did they ever file criminal charges against students that do things that are criminal? No, never. But you look at Rhode Island, as bad as they handle that investigation, they are taking aggressive action in their schools to prosecute students that are disrupting the learning environment. And that's what they should do. But we've got all they're interested in is spending as much money as they can and covering up everything and forget about it. And we know that next week it's coming up. They want a blank check for everything so they can just spend insanely for the rest of until they bankrupt the city.
And Linda Pereira, Sean Kadeem, and Ricky T, goodbye forever. We can't stand it. All voted to remove the restrictions on borrowing.
Yes.
And Ken Pacheco came in and said, this is going to be beneficial to the school department because now we won't have to do like we always do and move the projects around. In other words, It's over $5 million, so we're going to break it in two and make it 2.5 apiece.
Well, Kenny Pacheco should keep his mouth shut because Kenny Pacheco blew nearly $4 million hiring a company to handle the HVAC system that's had mold in it for the last 6 years, then gave the guy a $95,000 a year job in the school
And then he
department.
diddled a child.
And now he wants to be able to handle more money. I want to ask anybody that's watching, and maybe I'll even go to the council next Tuesday. I don't know. But not that it's going to do any good, but I just think I should go up there and remind them. Let's go down a litany of shit. They want a blank check from us.
That's right.
Because I don't know. Maybe Sean Kadim in his brilliance thinks that he's smarter than everybody else. But let me tell you how smart they are. And I'm going to, if I go down there, I might go over some of this stuff, most of it. For 6 years, they were told that if they let the city handle the money the way they did with the healthcare, they would have a period where they couldn't pay their own share of the healthcare. And guess what? It happened. They're $2 million short. They were told 6 years ago that if they did what they did with trash, they would run out of money. They're $3 million in the hole. Then you got Kenny Pacheco spending nearly $4 million on contracts that we showed on his show numerous times. And that company, then he gives a guy who retired from that company, that was probably his pal, a $95,000 job with the city of Fall River after he retired from the company. So what does he get for that? A pay raise for everybody.
And remember,
these people can be trusted with their money.
The guy who got the job from Kenny, when he took the job at the city, was arrested for being a diddler.
I know.
He resigned. Not here, but he was doing a student at another school system.
Yeah, but let's look at what Rhode Island did. Rhode Island is suing contractors who worked on a Washington Bridge.
That's right.
For non-performance. Have you ever heard the school committee ever mention going after this company that they just gave nearly $4 million to, and we've had mold for the last 6 years on and off? And it says in their contract they're supposed to take care of the stuff. And they didn't. Did we get a rebate? Did we get money back? No. They said, screw the taxpayer. These are the people that are telling you, trust them with a blank check and violating. And I mean, the arrogance of Kadim to say that they have, this is going to make it easier for them to do what? Spend our money and bankrupt the city. Because I hate to tell Sean this, but the Constitution doesn't say that when he gets elected, he gets to do whatever he wants. Oh, CJ, you got a message.
Yes, I'm checking it now.
But the Constitution clearly states that they are our substitutes and agents and answerable to us at all times. So what part of, if we take it to a vote, that's the height, the epitome, the top level of answerability. When you take it back to the people, that's being truly answerable. You're going to take a city, and remember, this is the council that aided and abetted this budget nearly doubling. And what have we got to show for it? Kadim's talking about capital outlay, this project. What have they done that has made Fall River better in 6 years and nearly doubling the budget? Are your streets better? No. Tony Cadero's streets are better. Every developer's got a tax break. Everybody else they're getting loaded on our dime, and we're getting killed. And these are the people that want to strike that out. And I'll tell you what, anybody that wants to start a 10 taxpayer suit, we'll start one. Because if they do this shit, let's see them. We need to file ethics violations. These people, they're just shameless. They don't care. Where's like I said, look 2 miles down the road in Tiverton, Rhode Island. They're suing contractors for non-performance. They're prosecuting thugs in the school system for disrupting the environment for the children. This is obscene. This is nuts. And what do they want now? They come back and say, let's just get rid of the law. Let's just get rid of the ordinance because it cramps our style of spending. Well,
according to Sean, it restricts their ability to do the job they were elected to do. Spend money. They're supposed to keep the finances. The problem is that was put in effect because they couldn't control their spending.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. I have to remind Sean what he was elected to do. Represent the people and be answerable to us.
Right.
Not determine how to, and be our fiduciary, which they haven't been. I just gave you about 4 or 5 different examples how they weren't our fiduciary. You tell me how they ignored for 6 years. I sent every city councilor, and Ricky Teeth got one when he took office because I went to his restaurant and I handed him the letter that I sent them 6 years ago about health care, collective bargaining, and the retirement system. So he was well aware. So you're going to tell me that they ignored for 6 years what happened?
Explain that, Scott. What do you mean that this city council is a perfect example of why you don't support a city manager? Okay? Because the city manager would control that without the city council aggravation.
That's right. He'll have autonomy on that.
He has autonomy. Unlike the mayor who turns around and says whatever he wants and does whatever he wants and nobody stops him. And when they do, you got corporate counsel saying, I got to finish kissing his ass first. Hold on. Yeah, he can do it. It's a violation of the charter.
There's another factor too, Scott, that makes it better. Look, not that it's going to be perfect. Let me preface that remark with it's not going to be perfect because we have a problem with the people in the city of Fall River not showing up to vote. But think about this. Right now, we got a corrupt mayor and a corrupt city council working in tandem to rape us. We hire a guy that's in charge of finances that we can fire if he screws up the finances. Also, as part of this charter, we now have ward councilors. We don't have a council that is basically has a majority of people from the most affluent part of the city who are politically connected. And now we've only got one group to attack.
Under the typing charter they're proposing, it is 9 city councilors at large, not ward councilors.
Well, I'm not going to vote for it if they're going to make them at large.
Well, the problem is this. If they go with the ward councilors, that creates 13 city councilors. Okay? Creates a city administrator. But it takes away the power of the city council. So you're stuck with Worcester. You can't get everything the first time out. You have to add things slowly. You get the first form of government, then you add the rest.
I'm not going to get a half-assed version of a charter. And Scott, I disagree. There's been a city manager in Worcester for years, and the difference is the people have a far greater ability to control the city manager because he works, and the council now has an authority over him, and we can get rid of councilors if we've got 5 to 4 or whatever. And there's a majority of people that are supporting the city manager's not doing a job. It's a lot easier if we have ward councilors and stuff and other people to get city councilors out of office. If you look at a city councilor's race, the difference between 9th and 13th is a couple of hundred votes. If people get pissed off enough, it's a lot easier. But when you get a mayor entrenched in there, they drag in the councilors from that they endorse for the most part.
That's right.
Coogan drags people in. Now, if you got city councilors that are worried about their job, if they don't do the job, it's a lot easier to get councilors out of the seat than it is to get a mayor. Look at Coogan. And I mean, it all gets down to the people. But still, a city manager, they have city managers all over the state of Massachusetts, and they work.
That's right.
You're right. I have to agree. You do have a point. Because in Fall River, it seems nothing works. But it's because of the people. They don't vote.
That's right.
This will work if people Go to the polls. Keep them honest. Hold them accountable. Therein lies the problem. I agree. I don't know why these nitwits complain all the time and they never go to the polls. You look at this last election. It was absurd. 11,000. It's like, are you kidding me? And as far as the registered voters, 55,000 or whatever, that's horse shit because of the way they register you to vote. When you do any business,
whether you want to be or not.
Whether you want to be or not. You've got people on there registered to vote that probably never voted in their entire life, and there are a lot of them. Because you go down to the registry, you're registered to vote. You do a business with the state, you're registered to vote. I'm registered to vote, but I gotta register my motorcycle this month and my car next month because motorcycles are every year. So, but you get you're right, sir. We get the government we deserve, but I still believe, and it's not something we said now, it's not a knee-jerk reaction from CJ and I. We've been advocating for a Type B charter since we've been on the air. And before we were on the air. I've been an advocate for a city manager for years because I dealt with this city when we started with this crap. When I started negotiating in this city, there was no CFO, no city administrator, nothing. We negotiated directly with the city of Fall River and one of their attorneys. Then they started with the city administrator. First city administrator was great, Alan Sylvia. He was great, brilliant guy with numbers, and a guy that didn't ever lie. Then we got Connors and stuff. It was okay. But then we began to hire mall managers and unqualified people, and therein lies the rub. And if they try to get one of their own in the city of Fall River, like I said, it's up to the voters to get rid of them and the city manager. I've always felt that it's a better way to run because if you look at the cities like Fall River, they're so political. Yeah, I mean, listen, it gets back to the people. If they try to hire some bozo like they got now, who's got a degree in political science, and she's the chief financial officer, and since she's been there, she's made a fool out of herself at virtually every meeting, and we keep her, and Coogan's philosophy is, yeah, well, yeah, it's true.
Because he's a city manager.
We weren't laughing. They look, the last thing they want in this city, Scott, is accountability. And if you get a good city manager, and like I said, it's still always up to the people. We all know that. We're always here engaged, involved, and talking. But we know if they tried to get hooey dooey and screwy in there, it's up to the people to go down to the council and revolt. Show them if they put this guy in that they're gone. It always gets down to what our forefathers, always said, you get the government that you deserve. And the other thing that I believe Jefferson said was, and this is what pisses me off about Kadeem, we were elected to make all these decisions. No, you were elected to make fiduciary decisions, and you don't. I got the case law that says you got to look at numbers. You never look at shit. I told you 6 years ago you were going to run out of money. You let Coogan underfund the health care and take all its money at the end of the year and spend it somewhere else. You're just as responsible, Sean, and you should know better because you were the city administrator in this city and you're the town administrator in Seacon. You know damn well it's your fault. You approved everything he's done to make the budget where it is. Okay? It's your fault. You are not elected to be our investment counselor. You're invested to be our fiduciary. And that comes with being loyal to the taxpayer, not to the ease of you moving money around so you can get what you want and walk your friends in from Seacon and get them a job at City Hall. And that's what happened.
You did.
which he did.
That's right.
Two of them. That's right. The two of them, and everybody knew it. You walk right in. Oh, these are my friends from Seacon. Give them a job. Okay. Yeah, but I'm really against all this reckless spending. Well, it's up to it's up to the people. It's up to the city. It's up to the city
Yeah,
to.
you notice that the city corporate council isn't telling the mayor they have to be residents of Fall River. It's an ordinance. No, because it's not convenient.
You can't do that. That was the fundamental problem with America. But I'll get to that thing. What Jefferson said. Sean Kadim wants absolute power over the money, even though he's displayed no ability to be competent fiduciaries for the taxpayer. And Jefferson once said, when you give the government the power to give you anything you want, they can take everything you have. That's
right.
Exactly what the city council wants to do. And I had a professor in college when I came out of the service and went back to school on a GI Bill. I had a professor, a brilliant guy, and we had a discussion one day about politics, and he said, America's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. And I said, how so? And he said, because you're going to look at people, look at their credentials, vote on the issues. And he said, in some moron, he said, it's going to cancel your vote out because he didn't say chow mein sandwich, but basically that's what he said indirectly, that they're going to have some commercial or some movie star tell them who to vote for, and they're going to vote for it. But unfortunately, that's what this country was. You got the right to vote, and this is one of the primary reasons people don't realize this. But tail gunner Joe McCarthy said this in the 50s. They've been intentionally dumbing down this country for decades, because the dumber the voters are, the more they can influence them. Yeah, but you can't give an IQ test to vote, because guess what? We might win an election. There'd only be 12 of us that could vote. Oh, yeah, you're right. The people who get the $40,000 a year pay raises, and the people who get the $20,000 pay raises and the $19,000 pay raises, and they cut their steps in half to double their pay. Yeah, of course they're going to. But the only good thing about that is that, well, good thing, but good and a bad thing. It's kind of a sort of Damocles. But most of the people who work for the city now don't live in the city.
That's right.
They don't live in the city anymore. Years ago, when I got on a job on a fire department, 98% of the firefighters worked in the city of Fall River. 98% of the cops worked in Fall River. 98% of DPW lived in Fall River. Today, virtually nobody lives in Fall River. The teachers, the firefighters. I mean, I would guess that more than 50%, and I think it's a lot more than 50%, don't live in the city. And this is a problem. They take the money and they leave. That's why they can vote for Sean Kadim. Because they say, I don't care how much they raise their taxes, as long as these guys keep giving me pay raises. Because I'm going to take the pay raise and go back to Somerset, Swansea, Dartmouth, Westport, or wherever, Rehoboth, and go. And Kadim's going to pontificate about, you're cramping my style. Well, Shawnee, you're not in Seekonk here. And that lawyer talking about everybody, look, every city, every town is different. You're going to compare Fall River, and I will get the stats for the next show, but I'll look them up quickly when CJ says it. I think the last time I looked up Seekonk, their per capita income was $81,000 a year. Ours is $31,000. That's $50,000 more. Seekonk, the population is what, a quarter of ours? And they have more stores. So don't compare Seekonk with us. You can't. We're on the dollar menu. Seakonk's on the prime steakhouse menu. And maybe they don't care because they got the money to pay the taxes that you blow. Yeah, yeah. Well, they always got a plan, but I think the real basis of their plan is to make themselves all rich. What happens after that is purely coincidental. I'm sorry, I can't. How long have we had a city planner? You know, forever. And how much has Fall River changed except for the Duval corridor, which they got. The MBTA wasn't for our benefit. The MBTA was pushed down here after 35 years or so because they wanted the land grab that they got. They wanted to be able to take all that land. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Seekonk can afford it. But this is they want a blank check, and it's like, listen, I'm not going to give my cousin who just is, $150 million in debt. I'm not going to give him my checkbook too. I mean, this is outrageous. It is. It really is.
Well, you brought up the MBTA. Are you ready for some numbers?
Yeah.
According to the MBTA, in April, we had 250,000 riders. 250,000 rides in April.
Yeah. And that's a false figure.
And 200,000 plus since. Meanwhile, when people go down there, there's one person on the train.
Yeah. You know why? Because they fudged the numbers.
Well, not only do I think they fudged the numbers, I don't think they do them from station to station. I think what happens is we are South Coast Rail. Therefore, they're taking the numbers from both New Bedford, Fall River, Middleborough, Taunton, and putting them all together.
Yeah, not only that.
And now they want to spend $32 billion on replacing the trains because they're outdated. And by 2031, they'll have it done. Where the hell are they getting that money from?
Well, let me tell you something. I know how they fudge figures. I've seen how police departments and fire departments fudge figures. I can guarantee you that when they look at the line and they're giving you the stats, they're talking about all the personnel that get on between here and Boston on that line.
Yeah.
So that's not Fall River, and it's not just Fall River. It's everybody that gets on that train between here and a destination that line ends up at. And then they get on a red line, and it's all the red line. Look, they're fudging figures. And this is something I got from citydata.corp. Okay, the median. Now remember, the median household income. I don't know if they got the per capita in this one, but median household income in Fall River is $53,000 a year.
We know that already.
I know that, but now we go. The median household income in Seekonk, Mass, is $105,155, which is 5% greater than the median annual income across the entire state of Massachusetts. The median income in the entire state is $99,858. So we're about 50% of the median income and less than 50% of what Seekonk makes. So, maybe you're spending too much time in Seekonk because you think Fall River is Seekonk. And they also have more businesses in Seekonk. I didn't look up the population, but their population but they have more businesses. Ever drive through Seekonk? Just go down Route 6. Never mind looking on the side streets. Just look at all the places you've got between, the Swansea line and East Providence. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's apples and oranges. You can't. We're on if they had a 50-cent menu, we'd be on the 50-cent menu. And he's dealing with it. He's dealing with this like everybody's the same. We're not the same. No, we're not the same. It's apples and oranges. Okay, what's Fall River's last population? 90 some thousand? We're over 90,000, right? CJ?
What?
We're over 90,000, right?
On what?
Population.
Yes, 94,000.
94,000. Seekonk's population as of 2025, the population of Seekonk is approximately, because give or take a couple of bodies, 15,912. So do the math. Do the math. You got a town of 15,000 with an annual income that far exceeds ours, and you're going to compare us and them and the services that they require. Their fire department, the last time I checked, and I may be wrong because it's been a long time since I gave a damn about, because we couldn't use them in a comparison. Their fire department only worked weekdays. They had weekends off. And their fire department's only got, I don't know, 40 people. I don't know. Like this entire Somerset, the fire department, city of Fall River, when I was on, the city of Fall River's fire department budget was greater than the entire town budget of Somerset. So you're going to compare a town of 15,000. It's got 1/10 the amount of cops, 1/10 the amount of firefighters, 1/10 the amount of DCM employees, and a budget that's minuscule compared to ours, and that's got more money with Fall River. I don't know how you ever became an administrator, because if you can't reconcile those numbers, no wonder you talk the way you talk. I don't know which movie it was. I don't know which movie I was talking about. Yeah, I remember the movie. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's apples and oranges. I mean, these people are like, oh yeah, this is what we do in Seekonk. I don't give a damn what you do in Seekonk. And even Seekonk is bound by the Constitution of the Commonwealth. You are a fiduciary, and you're supposed to be watching the money. You're not there to determine what you think is the way we should spend our money. You're there to determine if the way they're spending our money is in the best interest of the people, the taxpayers, who you were elected to represent. Oh, yeah, and he didn't have any experience. He came to Fall River for OJT. He got his on-the-job training here, got a job.
And he went somewhere else like they all do.
Yeah.
Just look at Chris Moreno.
I know he worked at Raytheon for a while, and maybe another private firm. Raytheon, another private firm. He came to Fall River. He had no public sector experience. He wasn't financed to a degree, but he got his OJT in Fall River, and then once he got, he had a resume. He'd say, "Well, I worked at Raytheon. I worked here. I worked there in the financial departments and did this and did that. But I'm also familiar with public sector. I know about Munis, and I know about this, and I know about that, because Fall River paid me good money to learn. It's like that's what we got. This is like the minor leagues. It's like, it's crazy, because we got a CFO who's got a degree in political science. You think somebody'd say, well, at least go down and get an associate in accounting or something. Jesus, you're running a nearly, you're running a $500 million budget. And by next year, it'll be $750 million. No, political science. And what does Coogan say? Oh, she's young and she's going to learn it. You don't learn a job. I know Dan does work in the area. He didn't start out at the top. They didn't tell him, Dan, you don't know anything. You just, number one, you don't even have a degree. You don't even know we don't know if you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, but we're going to give you the top job because we like you. You're young, we give you a chance. No, that's not the way it works. You got to learn. You don't start as a chief in a fire department. You got to be a firefighter. Know what a firefighter does? Become a lieutenant, a captain, and then you can maybe take a chief's exam. Okay, that's the way you work your way through in every job. You don't get to be the president of the company unless your daddy owns the company, and you're going to have 150 people there to help you run it. In a real world, when you got a job, an important job, the most important job in the city of Fall River, finances, and you give the job to somebody with a degree in political science who has not performed well at all. I mean, if any of you think she's doing a good job, like, give her a vote. I've watched her. She's beyond it. I mean, every one of us has worked somewhere, and when you work, you don't start at the top. Maybe you do start at the top if you got a PhD in nuclear physics, in 55 years experience or something like that. You transfer over to another company, but you got to have a resume. In Fall River, you don't have to have anything except somebody whispering in the mayor's ear. She's a friend of mine. Okay, give her a job. Let's give her a shot. And this is what happens. In the old days, Alan Silver was a brilliant guy. You would have never seen me argue that we needed any kind of thing when he was there because. And the other thing about Alan was he was totally honest. He wouldn't lie for the mayor. He won't lie for anybody. The numbers were the numbers. And this is the crazy part about it. And this is like Fall River is like being run by the Bad News Bears. And that's what happens. I mean, it's a comedy show. Oh, Bentley. Even Bentley agrees. But yeah, this is going to be a real bad. It's going to be a real bad. Let's see what this new council does, because if they withdraw this, hopefully we can get a 10 taxpayer suit or something. But I mean, it's crazy. People should go down there and bitch. Call your councilors. Every argument they made was nothing more than BS. And, they try to, pretend that they know something about it. You got some lawyer that they just hired. That guy's now showing up, talking about what they do in the state of, he doesn't know crap. Where the hell was he before? What's his resume? Besides knowing somebody. They dragged another head nodder into the thing. I don't even know why we need a law department. They don't litigate anything. All they do is go down to the and by the way, that was confirmed. And CJ was sitting in the gallery with me, and I believe it was with Jeff was there and Nelson was there, I think. When Seth Akins told the council exactly what they're there for. And he's a former lawyer, and at the time he was the city administrator. He said, "We're here to convince you." No, you're not. You're there to provide them. And I said that at the next meeting, and he kept his mouth shut and agreed. He said, point taken. You're not there to convince people that your position is correct. You're there to prove that these numbers are correct and why we should be spending this money, this taxpayer money, on whatever project you're sitting in front of them for. That's what you're there for. Not to bullshit your way to get more money and get a blank check from the taxpayers and say, hey, we don't care. These idiots are going to just keep paying us, and we're going to spend it until it's gone. And I don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. You pull that cap, you give them, and you know what's going to come right after that cap? Let's see. I'm going to be like Johnny Carson, the Karnak the Great.
Karnak.
Let me see what it says. Right after they get through with this, they will be asking for a debt override or an override of 2.5 because we're out of money. After we gave them a blank check and after they doubled the budget in 6 years and we let them do this, that's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. They will be looking for us to pay more taxes because they can't stop spending money. So, Kadeem showed his cards. He doesn't care. they've got a following, so they get elected, but it's up to the people. Let's get everybody up. Let's get everybody up. They're going to be coming looking for debt override.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting was Runaway Rumsey had to give an opinion. Remember, it's an opinion that the city council does not have the authority under the charter to restrict the mayor's ability to enter into a contract with contract personnel, department heads, etc., etc. It's a violation of the charter. So Sean Kadeen turned around and said, wait a minute. Under the law, we can't make something weaker than state law, but we can make something more restrictive. So we can't make something weaker than the charter, but we can make something more restrictive. That's my argument. And Rumsey said, no, you can't do that. Notice how it's convenient that you can't do that?
What was he talking about, CJ? Was he talking about contract language?
The city council wants the authority to restrict contract terms and amounts that get submitted to the city council, and they want approval of those contracts. Currently, they don't have an approval right of the contract.
Okay, well, let me tell you, they're both wrong to a degree. Rumsey is wrong. Rumsey is right that the city council doesn't have the authority to do that. Why? Because if you look at the collective bargaining law,
not collective bargaining, department heads.
Yeah, but still, it's still a contract, and they parallel each other. And the reality is, what case law says is a bargaining takes place between the employer and the designated, in the case of unions and groups, it's the exclusive bargaining agent for the individuals involved. If it's a confidential employee or a department head who is negotiating his own contract, by law that goes between the employer and him individually. City council doesn't have any say in the negotiations, because unless it's statutory, unless it's in the charter that they are, and it's not. But that's the way bargaining is supposed to be. You have to make an exemption. But what the city council can do is not fund a contract they're not happy with, for any of those reasons. If it's too long, they go, no. When you make this contract for 2 years or 3 years or 1 year, and we might approve it. If this is too much money, we reject the contract. And you know what happens when they reject the contract? It goes back to the table.
But currently, the city council does not have the authority, according to Alan Rumsey, to reject the contract negotiated by a department head.
That's absolutely wrong. 100%. The only time that the city council would not be the appropriating body, which it says in the law, by the way, they are the appropriating body. They don't have it as if the mayor paid for their salaries. Then they wouldn't have anything to say. So let the mayor pay them. Let Coogan pay them. Rumsey's full of shit. And that's the problem. Nobody wants to speak up. There's not a union in the city that doesn't know that. Because it's happened before. The last time it happened in this area was to Attleboro. Attleboro went 3 or 4 years without a contract, went to arbitration, won the arbitration, went back to the council. The council said, no, we don't want it. It's going to cost us too much money. We don't approve. We do not fund it under Section 7 of Chapter 150E. We refuse to fund it. And you know what happened? Back to the table for another 3 years. That's what happened. Rumsey's full of shit. They are the Ways and Means Committee of the city of Fall River. They handle the purses. They do not have to fiduciarily fund anything they believe is not in the best interest of the people and the taxpayer. Well, look, all these lawyers that are hired are there because you ever heard the old adage, if you can't do, teach. Well, these are lawyers that can't make it in the private sector. They're not lawyers in Boston with $1 million offices and staffs and stuff. These guys are hamburgers. They can't make it. They can't cut it. They couldn't cut it in a real competitive world of the big time lawyers. They laugh at these people when they go to Boston court. They throw them out. I've seen them thrown out of court in Boston. And they can't make it, so they're working for the city. When in doubt, go get a job with the city. You're going to be a full-time lawyer. And look at Rumsey. What's Rumsey doing now? He ain't even making enough now. I graduated from Brown, but I can't practice law because I can't make enough money. So now I'll work for the city, get a check, make some connections, and now I'll get into the market rate housing business. And all the people I've made, the connections I made will help me. Well, why did Nancy Pelosi make $56.9 million in the last 3 years? Oh, insider trading. So this is why they're there. They can't cut it as real lawyers. You wonder why most unions with good lawyers win virtually 99% of the cases? Because the buffoons that work for these cities and towns are there because they can't make a living by litigating at any high level. That's the reality.
Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Get your holiday shopping done today. And, and Monday.
Balls, whatever you do.
Yeah, have fun. Be careful if you're out driving. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Hello?